dear friends, and welcome to another Living in the Flow show. It's been a wonderful over 2 years, a journey of over 2 years of co-creation and cooperation and working together with dear Tanya, dear sister, on this incredible journey of love, of self-discovery, and so much more that we've enjoyed together. And being number episode 30, it's a beautiful 30 number. And I want to again, welcome everybody to these times, to these huge new times. And like many have experienced this last few months and the last few weeks, and the last couple of days have been huge. I think in the last about a month ago, we were talking about, well, I was talking about, like the whole Piscean age collapsing within me. And that was like a huge, huge event. And it kind of almost left me a little bit, unstable, not unstable, but sort of a little bit like dizzy and wondering, okay, where am I now? What is happening? All the stories, all the identifications that I had in the past, they've just not made sense anymore. They've just gone, became irrelevant. And then a few weeks later, in this last couple of days, and I've noticed on, on other people sharing, many of us have given birth within us to the Aquarian age. And for me, like the way it happened a couple of days ago, I was full on drumming for myself, and it turned out to be a couple of hours session when I was drumming and got so into it. I sort of lose myself and go deep with music, just feeling the rhythm, feeling the beats, those primal beats. And then all of a sudden, it felt like something broke, like I thought maybe there was like an earthquake or something happened. And it felt like a rapture, like something just pushed through or fell through or something. And then later I realized that that's what my experience of birthing this new era, the Aquarian era within me. And now feeling all of the different things and feeling myself as a parent, as a mother to this new era within me. So much has changed, so much has been changing. And I feel like that I've moved from being a spiritual child that needed, assistance and help and into now being a full spiritual adult, full spiritual wise person that operates from her own wisdom, that sits on her own throne within her sovereign space, that sits within the center of her own being, drawing upon the soul, drawing upon the nurturance from the deep wells within. And that this has now been done, it's been completed, this coming back to self, the last bits and pieces that were still not in place have come into place. And now it feels like, like my world, well, in the last year especially, has been expanding even more than before. So I feel like I'm no longer, needing that support of a small group or any particular group, but my self-love or this force or this beingness has allowed me to keep expanding and expanding and include more and more people within my world, finding this incredibly surprising people of my own heart within all these different, locations, and all these different disciplines and professions and stuff. And so what I used to think was a small world of, of what we needed at that time, what I needed at that time, is now, to my wonderful surprise, become this whole huge world playground. And at the same time, the discernment, the having incredibly strong, not strong as in unmovable, but uncompromising boundaries that do not allow the disrespect that come from this cultivation of self-love, of love that keeps flowing, that gives me this ability to know what is good for me, to know what is not acceptable, and to know what is okay, and how to behave, and how to trust people, how to find truth in this world where the solid ground has gone. We're now on this quicksand, on this quickening sand that keeps shifting and keeps changing, and people and organizations and things within that keep changing. So it is so imperative to keep being in this place of being connected with this self-love, because this is the incredible, accurate guidance as to what is true, what is not true for me, who is has got, you know, my well-being at heart. Not that they can even harm, but you can tell, you can see clearly with clear open eyes, with crystal clear vision, you know, that cuts through all the bullshit, that cuts through all the layers and layers of filters and manipulation that is happening within the mass consciousness, and that is releasing from this world. And yet many people are still playing within that. And with all of that, there is also the importance of humility, of humbleness, because it is with this that I keep my heart open, that I keep my flow, that I keep open to new, you know, to seeing new things, to seeing things in a new way, to changing, to keep transforming. There is even, there is a particular word in let's say scientific terms. I think I wrote it down. It's Dunning-Kruger effect. And all of us within spiritual journeys, we kind of know this, but it's kind of a very general effect, which means that, you know, people who start at something, who've just learned a little bit about a topic, about an issue, they have this incredible self-confidence, or rather arrogance, to say, I already know everything. There is nothing for me to know. And very often, because of the confidence that they portray, these are the kind of people that end up at the top of, you know, the echelons of power, at the top of the organizations and all sorts of places. But it is just the effect of this particular interesting phenomena that even scientists have noticed. Because what happens if you, it's a normal way to be, and then if you keep going deeper into it, if you keep learning about a subject, then your confidence about it goes down, because you realize, wow, there is just so much I actually don't know. The more you learn about something, the more proficient you become at something, the more also this humbleness comes in, humility, realizing, wow, you know, I actually don't know anything. So then at the end of this, if you keep going through it, you come to this incredible wisdom where you are open, and, you know, where you're actually open, and you again this acquire this confidence, not from the hot air balloon, but from the real experience, because you have lived it, you've gone through it, you've experienced it, and now you know that particular subject, and you actually can now have that real confidence based on truth, based on knowingness, and you can actually say, yes, I am wise, but I am wise in the sense that at the same time I know everything, but also I don't know anything. Because the more you really know in this way, the more you don't know anything. And this is a beautiful, incredible way to be and to live, because you're always open to new people, to new experiences, and to new nuances in anything. And so the journey keeps continuing on, and you keep you know, filling the jar, or jar of with your nectar, your own nectar, with your own wisdom, that is in some cases quite hard to come by. It's missing in the world of mass consciousness very much. And yet there are many of us now who are actually living this truth quietly, or, you know, publicly. We are witnesses to our own incredible journeys. And many of us have now moved into this space of our own true sovereignty, where I sit on my throne in my own sovereign space. And I also acknowledge and recognize that others too are living in their own truth, in their own sovereign space. And I no longer, you know, with this comes the freedom to be that alpha and omega in your own sovereign space, to be the definer of what is your truth, what is not your truth, what words you're going to use, what definitions am I going to use. There is this incredible freedom. So from traveling into that, hourglass where everything was getting smaller and smaller, it feels like now I've birthed myself into this huge space where again I'm anew, and again I'm making my own definitions as to what truths are going to be I'm going to put there as the basis of my new experiences. What are the truths that I value? What are my own values? How do I want to experience this new world? And so there's so much to unpack and to unravel. And at the same time, also with dear Tanya, we do have a little news for today. And so over to you, dear Tanya.
Oh, you want me to release the news? Okay. So
if you want.
okay. So in the same vein as dear Alexis was sharing so beautifully, we have both come into new spaces of experience, of expression, of awareness. And of course, whenever there is a shift of frequency, what we can call an upgrade, but the upgrade always comes with greater freedom, yes, greater humility, and greater responsibility. So the responsibility always keeps growing, humility keeps growing, because you become so free from having to know everything, from having to have the answers, from having to navigate from a place of past identity all the time. So for me, it's been like that for years. And each time I come to a turning point, which has happened throughout this year and very, very more precisely, more strongly in the last 4 months, it has been very, very strong. And I have come to the awareness that in this new era, we begin a new journey, each one of us. And so in that context, this is our last living in the flow. So we came to this beautiful number. We didn't decide it was going to be at number 30. We had no idea. It was just this knowingness that this is done. And this has happened with other things in my life as well. But the beautiful thing about letting go and letting flow with grace and ease and gratitude is that when you are creating wholeheartedly, whatever it is, let's say this show, then when the time comes that it is moving into something else, so that is changing, you're letting it go. And I'm going to invite everyone to do this this little, it's not an exercise, it's an allowing, which is whatever anyone who is watching has come to an end of, notice you are the creator and the reality is yours. So whatever you have put into that creation is yours to receive. Now, when you have wholeheartedly been in that creation with no doubt, with no fear, just been there, then that is what you are receiving. So you will receive the result of that into you, and that will expand you and fill you and take you wherever it is to take you next. So whatever you create next always make sure you're doing it from a whole heart. You're doing it completely. You're discovering with no expectation. You are in complete, how can I say, surrender, really, complete surrender. Wow, this is my new creation, and I am discovering it breath by breath, and I am fully, fully in it. You know that whenever the time comes, because on earth this is the way it is, nothing is permanent. Whenever the time comes to wrap it up and move on, wow. So the invitation is, make sure you always create something worth receiving. And many have focused throughout the ages, create something worth giving, right? Worth giving. But notice, if it's something worth receiving for you, for sure it is worth receiving for anyone else. Because you've put everything you have in it. You've not created it from a place of scarcity. Oh, I can't do too much. I can't give away too much. I can't. No, you've created it like, yay, let's put everything into it. That's what you receive. That's what anyone else who is willing will receive from your creation. So there need be no concern about create something worth giving the moment you're aware that you can create something worth receiving. But in order for that to really work, there has to be the awareness of any parts that might be in self-loathing, in self-punishment, that don't want to receive. So first dealing with all of that, which is what keeps people in a dimmed down experience of lack, is the self-loathing, is not being worthy of the wholeness, of the goodness of you, of all that you are in your creation. So first, always realizing. And also that self-punishment, that self-loathing, even towards being human, is what creates this this illusion that the grass is always greener on the other side, that there is somewhere else, that we need to transcend this in order to achieve that. The moment you realize, wow, there is nowhere else to be right now, that this is everything there is for you to experience now, and you surrender so fully to that, then just sense that all of the effort, all of the struggle to get beyond, to go somewhere else, to be better, to whatever, it just falls away, falls away. And then you can relax into this beingness of discovering human from a place of connection, no longer from a place of separation. And then, oh, wow, what a beautiful creation it becomes. And yeah, we know nothing about it because we only know in the moment it's being created. And that is the gift, is the miracle, is the beauty of allowing oneself to walk through all of the dark spots, all of the bits and pieces that come up, and realizing, oh, okay, I've got this here. What do I do with it? And you bring it back home, and you bring it back home, and you bring it back home. And then you realize none of it is not worthy of being whole, of being one with you. Now, on this vein, I'd like to share about the fact that there is much talk within the Shambra circles, for instance, about just shine your light, shine your light. And I'd like to invite you to take a deep breath and realize it's not something you do. You can only be that. So it's not something that requires any doing, any effort at all. It doesn't even require any reminding. Because if you are in wholehearted surrender to the fusion with the wholeness of you, with the more that you are, with your soul, in wholehearted fusion with realizing, oh, the human is relevant in this equation. Oh, I am to stay in this humanness, not seek for something else. Once this starts happening really, truly, fully, that is shining your light. So it's not something you need to be concerned about. Just allowing the more, just allowing the more, just allowing. And I'd like to also share about Heaven's Cross. So March last year, there's this big intersection between physical and non-physical, this huge opportunity for the fusion and for the ceiling that has kept us in blindness of the more to be lifted. And so that ceiling was lifted. And many were so expectant about this advent of Heaven's Cross. And in that expectation, there was, okay, now this is being done, now this is happening. And then all of a sudden, when I wake up tomorrow morning, I will really feel my soul, I will really be in this fusion, and it will have worked out. And then the days just went by, on and on and on and on, and many start feeling, so what's happening? Like, what's with Heaven's Cross? I mean, I'm still having trouble grasping where my soul is. I still really am not feeling it. What, why? I mean, this is supposed to be it. I mean, we were told this was true this time. It is true, but not while you're sitting on the fence. The thing is that no advent, cosmic, grandiose, whichever advent it may be, can do it for you. It can provide the landscape. It can provide the openness. It can provide the connection possibility, but only each one can walk the talk and really go and grab all of those parts that are still unloved, that are still waiting to be accepted, all of that, so that the fusion can happen. Having said this, you will notice that so March, there was an acceleration, April, May, June, July, then it started getting harder and harder and harder, and it started to seem more challenging and more challenging towards September, October, November, right? Because many We're just sitting on the fence, waiting for it to be done. It is not going to be done. Each one has to take full responsibility for doing it for themselves, for really owning this throne, this sovereign space of wholeness. And yes, there was a deceleration because of there not being so much movement towards reunion. However, the ceiling is not there anyway. And it does feel more challenging, yes, because the ones who have said yes to soul are being pushed, pushed, pushed to the edge, because there's no way you can turn your back on that choice. No way. So if one has chosen, yes, I do want to reunite. It can be harder, it can be easier, whatever, but you can't turn your back on that choice. So Heaven's Cross won't do it for you, but it has provided a huge, huge opportunity that has not gone away, that has just intensified with the entering of Aquarius. And it's here. It's just here. And still another thing I'd like to add on that note is there is no such thing as ancestral karma. If you're hanging on to that belief that somehow maybe it's hard because the family you came into in this lifetime is of service to you. You came into it for you. The moment you're done, you're done. It has been for your benefit. The moment there is nothing else to be had from that experience, move on. No ancestral karma can tie you down, because you know what? This family you were born into in this lifetime is not necessarily the same from past lifetime and 200 lifetimes ago. It's each time you get a new ancestral karma, basically. So it's not yours. It's not yours. It is not yours. It is sitting there to serve you. It has elements that serve you to find your way back home. It is the pearls on the way. However, it does not bind you. It does not push you back. So Heaven's Cross has done its job. Now you do yours. And like we are embracing this new opportunity to discover more of who we can be in human form, because that's the whole discovery here. So it is that we feel such a gratitude, a wholeheartedness with, oh, wow, this has been fulfilled. That's the beauty of being able to move on in each step into each new with the benefit of what was created, always filling you, bringing you more wisdom, but not exactly knowing what the new is ever. Yeah, I am very, very grateful to every single one who has been with us on this living in the flow journey. Wow. Alexis, wow. It's been wonderful.
It's been wonderful. Like I'm just bubbling up, like just listening to you, and the way you, oh my gosh, the way you know how to bring us into that slowness, into that peace. It was just beautiful to sort of go on this journey with you, and to point out all of the things that I also have noticed. And also I would like to also thank people that have, because like there are many people in different stages and in different ways of doing things, and I just want to congratulate people that have actually gone with it, that just rode all these waves. And and it hasn't been easy for many people. Many people have created like some certain terminal things and like full on serious things, and yet
Yeah.
they've come to that place, and it's like it's now or never. I've given myself, and to see some people go through this into the light, into onto their sovereign throne of self, and also other people that have done it in a much more, let's say, cruisy and easy way, and to witness these incredible changes in people. I've seen, like, in the last year, I've witnessed, and it's a privilege to witness these kind of incredible changes, like from when we first met, and all of a sudden there's just this animated, live, joyful being that is excited about future and all of the possibilities. So there are so many people that have just taken the plunge into this sovereign space, and it encourages each and every one of us. But if you ask anybody, like you so beautifully described this journey, it does require self-responsibility, owning, doing this work, and owning ownership of your sovereignty, owning the self-love, practicing it, nourishing it, choosing it. When walking through all of those, like you said, the dark spaces, the animosity, the self-hatred, the parts, that loveless parts that have never felt, or and experienced love or respect or even nourishment, to actually walk with them and along with them, and to include them. They realize that they're included, and yet to not choose that or to identify with that, and not to fall into that continual perpetual victimhood, trap that can be seductive. It is much more easier to be in there. Freedom is difficult. I mean, not difficult, but challenging. It requires work. It has so many potential. It has so many choices, and there isn't anymore anyone else upon which one can put that responsibility. Or this turned out this way because or that person made me do it, the government made me do it, that organization made me do it, doctor made me do it. But there, all of those can be part of it, but it's different when you take the responsibility for it, but also at the same time have that discernment to see what choices you've made. All of it is available with this self-love. Self-love affords and brings, or I can use the word soul or whatever one uses for these things. It brings all of these things. So you're more alive, more able to see, more crystal clear. You see more, you see darkness, you see manipulation. Like very often things do turn upside down. Like you thought someone was your friend, and you realize actually no, they were manipulating you, they were feeding off you. There's all of this kind of realization that, or a parent, can be a relative, can be someone at work. You see this realization, but at the same time it's not anymore that kind of emotional dysregulation, emotional collapse, that incredible disappointment where your whole world falls apart. No, not at all, because you carry yourself in your own self-love, in your own support, and you can, so to speak, cruise through these things. It doesn't mean you don't feel sadness. It doesn't mean I don't feel grief. Actually, I have to work with it, feel it, but it's not protracted or long, but it touches me deeply, because I'm vulnerable, I'm open to it, I acknowledge it, and then it brings me back to self-love. All of these parts, all of the feelings and emotions bring me back to center. They do take me on a journey, but they always lead back home. And so even things that I used to push away, that I thought were overwhelming, were dark, were hard to feel, many of us are dealing with things of toxic shame, trauma, post-traumatic stress disorders. All of these things are incredibly, take a lot of courage to look at them. And yet, at the same time, it's not possible not to look at them when you're in your self-love, because that wasn't living out of those places, was not loving to self, not loving to others, living out of those, but transforming them, allowing that love, that light to penetrate, to infuse those places. That is what self-love is. That process easy? No, it's challenging. It takes you through some real things, and as I said, enables you to see people in their crystal clear. But this self-love also makes everything very soft, very able to tolerate, to not to take as in like, someone is punching you or overwhelming you or anything, but it's just like, wow, this is so full on, this is so intense, but you know what? It's okay. And what I've been sort of having in my head in the last few months more and more is two expressions that kind of mean the same thing. One is, from Yeshua's time, from biblical time, by their fruits of their labor shall you know them. They will be known by the fruits, by the harvest that they produce. And in English, the saying goes, by their pudding, what does their pudding look like? Pudding as in like a dessert or something that they've cooked. Is it tasty? Is it healthy? Is it delicious? The fruits of their labor, what are they like? Are they rotten? Because people can present, or they may have all of the trappings, and they may have cars and wealth and beautiful houses and all of these things. And there is absolutely nothing wrong with that, because out of self-love, you can afford yourself good things, but it is a different motivation and because it's out of self-love that you have those things, not that you have those things because you need feeding, you need admiration by others, you need to pretend to have this kind of image, and yet inside the fruits are rotten and smelly. And the thing is, there's nothing wrong with that either, because everyone has the opportunity. We all start in all of these spaces, and we all start with, because we've been 3D, we've been co-creating the world as it is. All of us have
Yeah.
been co-creating wars and hatred and not inclusion, this side and that side. And that's why this self-love, it includes all. It doesn't agree with all. It sees the pain, the suffering, it sees the manipulation of people, but it can include them as people, also as parts within the same process within. And you can also see that all of these people have some beauty, have the gold and the diamonds within them. And so it pays to also listen. And when you're open, then also they open, and then that understanding and communication happens, and then you have no more war, whether it's between neighbors, between partners, between family members, between nations. So it all sort of comes from this inner work. But is it like you said, yeah, that's why people sort of are going into that AI and robotics way, because they think, well, all of us as human, each one as human being has this kind of idea somewhere deep inside, or perhaps more on the surface. But some people are now going about achieving these things via maybe augmentation, body augmentation, implanting all these robotic things or whatever, because they think this will make them immortal, that this will make them not powerless, because this is a huge one, and it's hard to feel powerless. It's hard to feel that, and it's hard to be in that position, and and everyone wants to feel powerful, but it's not powerful that we want to feel. Really, we want to feel self-empowered, meaning sitting on the throne within our own sovereign space, not over someone else, but in our own sovereign space, so that I choose my truths, I choose who I am, I choose my choices, I choose my potentials. But as mentioned, this kind of freedom, it's easier sometimes to, like on the outside, so on the inside, it's easier to have some authority over you, because then they tell you what to do, and it's very easy, either black and white, and you do this, and you're good, and if you do that, you're in trouble. And then also, for all of the results, all the fruits of that labor, you can blame the authority. But when you're free, when you take responsibility, you then have to then say, okay, I actually co-created this, either fully created, or if I'm work with other people, I've co-created with them. But it is not hard, it's not the same soul-filled life, self-love filled life is not the same, because it's not harsh, it's not barren. In all of these things and experiences, you have this beautiful, like, anointment, this sacred oil anointment that anoints everything. And so even, the everyday disappointments in life, feeling of grief, feeling of something not working out, feeling of all of these things, they actually, I'm supported from inside. I'm always supported. I am never alone. And also, if the attitudes that I have towards me, I'm okay with making mistakes. I'm okay, if there are even mistakes, if such a thing. But I'm just saying that. But whatever happens in my life, I self-love, I self-respect, I self-treasure. And so whatever happens, I actually can kind of cruise through all of these things, even though to someone else may say, well, how have you done this? It seems hard, but being in it is not hard, because all of it was oiled by self-love. All of it was nurtured. Throughout of it, I joked with myself. I treated myself well. I didn't put myself down. I didn't beat and berate myself. I didn't hate myself. It was like, oh, look at that. Isn't it funny? Perhaps I even laughed and giggled with all of these things. So the experience of all of it is very, very different, than, so, and you can have courage to just keep expanding into projects and things and people, because you're okay with being, let's say, rejected by someone, or saying, okay, no, we don't have time for you, or whatever, because it's just water off the back. It doesn't actually make any kind of lasting impression. It's just like, oh, okay, that didn't work. So this is why, like, through all of these things, it's kind of like cruising and surfing, and it looks like, and it feels like that, and within all of that, there's also these incredible joyful moments and pleasures and sensuality, and playing with music and dancing, and just reveling in this beautiful feeling of this radical self-acceptance. I am who I am where I am, and all is well with me, and all is well with my world. And this is like been thousands and thousands of years of journey, of thousands of lifetimes to come to this place. And yet here I am in this minute, and now another job has come. It's like, okay, so what do I put? What are the bases now from which I now operate? What are the truths that I'm going to operate from in this world? And now, because of the work I've done, I actually am in that space where I can make those choices, and they actually work, and they go, because all of that other stuff is being cleared and owned, and whatever else that is needed. And so You know, I like it's been a wonderful journey, Tanya, what we've co-created, and with each one of us, and the gratitude, and also the just this ease and grace of how we worked, and you know how easy it was just to come together, have these talks, and then also at the end of each episode, you know, to know when both of us always know when we've come to kind of the end, and so it's been a beautiful experience from my side, you know, to work with you, dear Tanya, because it was really with so much grace and ease that we've, you know, from my side, and you know, to have reached people like we are you know, shows of like about 1,000 people, over 1,000 sometimes, you know, if you look at Facebook and both all of the Facebook and both YouTubes, and so we've kind of been reaching a lot of people, and a lot of people that I would like to thank, and also, you know, be grateful for, and for all the donations that you've supported this program. And also I would like to invite you to continue with us. And so like for me, I used to do before the show, we used to do a show, monthly show called Blueprints of the New. And I realize now that now it's again time for blueprints. I love this word, you know, and but it's just going to be blueprints, and probably in a shorter version. I'm still working all the ins and outs, but we continue the journey in a different way, a slightly different way, but we definitely continue, you know, on this journey. It is far from finished, because we are eternal. You know, so we're going
Oh
to keep
yeah.
playing in our sandboxes.
For sure, for sure. In my case, all of the live shows have ended, so all of them that I was doing are no longer in effect. But there are a lot of offerings, a lot of things that are in effect. And the Ultimate Freedom Retreat is coming up 16th to 20th of March here in Tomar, Portugal. We still have spaces. So if you want to visit my website in passioncoaching.com and find out more about it, you're most welcome. But in the vein of, so of course, this is far from ended, it's just a new beginning where what was being done now comes to an end, but it is a body of wisdom that, like, these 30 videos are available on both our YouTube channels, and we do invite you to listen again to whatever appeals, because it's always new when listened to again, whatever is on our channels, whatever there, not only our creation, living in the flow, but anything. It is new. It gains new depths, new wisdom comes through, because each one is in a different place when approaching these materials, and because also we are always in a different place, and all of that is in all of our creations. And I'd like to share this particular experience, because it's so appropriate within what you were sharing, Alexis, that, as you all know, we created here a cooperative, Te Inspirar Cooperative, and that cooperative has been in creation since October 2022. And it actually came into effect during this last year, and I shared periodically how much I was learning, how much fun it was, also how challenging it was to have so many new things, learning new things all at once, coping as well with bureaucracies and people and all sorts of things. And so it's been wow, what a magnificent creation, creating the website, creating the space, creating all of the intricacies involved in such a huge project, because it has been a huge project. And now towards the end of the year, beginning now in January, there was this awareness, but it's not moving the way it was intended, in a sense, not because there was an expectation, no. But when the invitation came from Soul to create this, and I always had my, are we sure we're going to do this? Yes, let's do it. It was, let's create something that will expand and bring about so many different opportunities of creation. And at that time, that was exactly it. And it's been that until the moment it started slowing down, because the receptivity of such a project, probably because of it is maybe a bit too much to swallow, basically, where we live in this particular region, whatever, it doesn't matter. What happened was that with this slowing down, it became harder. And I started realizing, wait a minute, are we going to go into struggle, pushing forward? No, we're going to go into gracefully letting go. And that was a big thing, big turnaround. Initially, it was it was a grief, because this was a creation created with so much truth in it that, yeah, this is what I want to do. And knowing that this is what many wanted to do at the same time, and we're all doing it and all that. And then coming to the realization, okay, it didn't quite work out the way it was intended, or the energy didn't flow. And realizing when it's not flowing, then there's no point pushing forward, which we could, but that's not our truth. That's not the truth of who we truly are if we're living in grace and ease and simplicity. And realizing, oh, wow, so, okay, so now we're gonna let everyone know this project is not really flowing in the expansiveness it was before, and as it's slowing down, it's no longer relevant. And so it took about 2 weeks or so to digest and cry and mourn, and then receive and receive. And oh my God, there is a lot to receive. I mean, I wouldn't think twice about creating this again if it came again, as this is the way. For all of the beauty, all of the expression, the art, the learning, wow, it's been incredible to have this chance to have something like this that wanted to exist, and to have all of everything that was necessary, the people, the places, the money, the everything, to put it in motion. And even if it is now going to be dissolved, it has been so worth it, so worth it. And so as it is being dissolved in the moment, it is with such grace and gratitude that, wow, look at this. We created this. Now, does it matter if it worked out or didn't? Was it a mistake? No. Didn't it work out? Well, I don't see it that way, you know. It's like when people are in a relationship, an intimate relationship, and they are so in love with each other and experience so much beauty and merging together and all of that. And at some point, they start going different ways. And then the merging starts dissolving. And would you say that that relationship was not worth it? Would you say that you are not richer, grander, more than you were before you had that relationship? Because when a relationship ends, it's not because there was a mistake, that it wasn't supposed to happen. Not at all. This is kind of a belief system that is very ingrained in mass consciousness, but is totally useless. And in this same way is like looking at it and saying, wow, what beauty. And feeling the relief of being aware to allow ourselves to let go, to not be in effort, to not be in pain, to not be in wanting to make anyone convinced of this or that or nothing. It's just, okay, now we move on. We move on. And so, yeah, whatever we create, if we're creating it from this wholeness, from this passion, from this joy, the seeds are there. It's never useless. Never, ever. So it's not about how much effort or how much went into it, like huge amounts, many hours, money, everything. But that is what we're here for. We're here to create. We are here to create.
And I think that
So
for me,
that's it.
like in this feeling, it's a lot of the time, like I think what we used to, like you said about the relationships, there is that thing that we were primarily doing things for others. But for me, like I've realized lately more and more that actually all of the things we're doing for ourselves. And so you've created this basically, like maybe
For
thinking, okay, this is
ourselves.
going to be for community, but really it's your own
But it was for
experience.
us.
That's
Yeah.
right. And it's just,
And once it's not serving you, you have to
yeah,
put
you have to put
self-respect
it
first.
exactly. And it's the same with my music, because I play so much now, both like I play the piano and I play the drum, but mainly I play for myself. And I realized, wow, this really is, there's no need for any audience, although there may come opportunities, but it is just that all of these, like why I learn things, why I do things, why I enter relationship, why I create, why I go this, it really is for self. And this is again coming
Yes.
from that throne of self, even though it can serve others and it does
Yeah.
serve others, but that's like an icing on the cake,
Yeah.
it's not the main. And that's why you can it's kind of like, okay, wow, because people are still so into this, because whenever you do something, it's like, oh, so what are you going to use it for? Oh, so when are you going to perform? Oh, so when, it's all of these questions. And it's
Yeah.
just like, oh, I'm just playing for myself. Oh, is that because you're not good enough? Is that why you're just playing for yourself? Like is this kind of questions, and I was like,
Yeah.
no, there's no other reason. It's just I simply just enjoy, and I enjoy the mastery of it, and there's just these beautiful experiences, like you would have with building, with putting those tiles. It's like when you're
Yeah.
renovating home, it's just this grit and physicalness. And the same is like for me now with drumming and music, is just this physicalness of dexterity of the fingers, of feeling my brain changing, all these pathways to allow, for all these different limb movements of the individual
Yeah.
limb. I'm like, oh my God, what's going on? So there's so much more. And then who knows, maybe I can use it, but that's absolutely not the point of the
Exactly.
experience, and maybe I will, maybe I won't, who knows? But it's definitely worth it yeah, it's worth it. And just to experience this beautiful, like, because I think like this year now, oh my gosh, now really is about this embodiment, owning, and physicalness.
Yeah.
And so it's wonderful to know the fantasy, and it's important to visualize, because most of the soul self, you self, is non-physical. But for us who are the now physical, this human expression of the soul, it is so important to actually make it real, to make it physical, to play with the grit and the dirt of the earth, of the body, of the biology, of the physicalness. And so unless that is not there, we in whatever form one is doing it, like bringing this idea of music into the actual sound, like you creating this space, if one is not manifesting, embodying these beliefs, and then there's no fruits. Those fruits are still going to
Yeah,
be painful and suffering and a little bit rotten. So
right.
and they won't happen. They will not be your fruit. So
And
really,
the merging is
but
not
yeah,
real, because the
true.
fact is that
Yeah,
you won't really come to terms with what it is to really be human. I mean,
absolutely.
there is going to be grief, and there is going to be disappointment, and there is going to be frustration, and
Mm.
but that is not what defines you.
Mm, absolutely not, because we are eternal, and we are these soul beings playing in the sandbox, which is called the earth,
Yes.
the physical reality that really tells you how you're doing, like by the fruits, the real physical fruits tell you how you're doing. And it's not, as I said, like in bringing to life those things that society deems what is valuable, but more like in your own inner experience, in your own inner mastery, in your own this feeling of, wow, look, I didn't know this a week ago, now I can do it. I had no idea. These are just those beautiful things that make your day so delicious, quiet and without drama, but so delicious. And so, oh gosh, I'm just so excited about this year. It's just
Yes,
been,
exactly. It's
you
just,
know,
oh, wow. And now that
yeah.
I'm relieved of a lot of
Mm,
because I was already feeling a burden because of having to do a lot of stuff because it wasn't flowing the way it was supposed to. Now that I'm relieved from that, it's like, yes, come
mm,
on,
mm,
let's
mm,
just
mm,
play.
mm.
And yeah, I think we
We've
have
come to
come
the end, haven't
to the
we?
end. And oh gosh, and it is so joyful.
Mm, mm,
So much gratitude.
mm.
Wow. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
And thank you, dear Tanya, dear sister. And thank you to each and everyone who has participated and also who will participate in the future. For you
Yes,
too are very much here and very much felt and very much valued and welcomed and loved in friendship and in this camaraderie on this incredible, most amazing journey that we are
and
on.
Alexis and I have already said, we will go dancing together one of these
One
days.
day. That's it. Absolutely.
So let's
Absolutely.
all dance. There is oh, yeah. Matea says there, thank you so much to both for this precious gift. Thank you also, Matea, for being here with us. Thank
And
you all.
namaste, and until next time.
Yay. Until next time. Namaste.